Everyone associates the history of the Second World War with Nazi Germany, terrible experiments on people, and unprecedented weapons that completely changed our lives. Even today, we are faced with finds from those years that still cause horror and fear for human life. In this video, you will learn about the 20 most incredible discoveries of the Second World War. Hi friend, you are on the KirTop channel. Enigma Machine. The Enigma machine is one of the most iconic symbols of cryptography of the 20th century. Created by German engineer Arthur Scherbius after World War I, it was originally intended for commercial use but was quickly adopted by the military as a primary tool for encrypting communications. Enigma is an electromechanical device based on a complex system of rotating drums and electrical circuits. Each key press caused the reels to rotate, creating a new encryption each time. Thanks to the huge number of possible settings, more than 150 quintillion combinations, Enigma seemed like an impenetrable fortress. At the height of World War II, such was the importance of breaking Enigma codes to the Allies that a team of leading mathematicians and cryptographers, including Alan Turing, was assembled at Bletchley Park in the UK. Turing and his colleagues developed a series of devices known as bombs that were able to automate the process of breaking Enigma codes, greatly speeding it up. After the war, Enigma machines and stories about their hacking were shrouded in many legends and myths, becoming a symbol of intellectual confrontation in times of global conflict. Today, Enigma exhibits can be seen in museums around the world, recalling the complexity of war, the importance of intelligence, and the invaluable contribution of scientists to the victory over Nazism. Ghost Army. During World War II, when every advantage on the battlefield could mean the difference between victory and defeat, the Allies resorted to an unusual tactic, the creation of the Ghost Army. This was a unique unit of the American Army, officially known as the 23rd Camouflage Staff Battalion, whose mission was to mislead German troops about the location and intentions of Allied forces. Interestingly, such a ghost army is still used in modern wars. The composition of the Ghost Army was unusual. Among its fighters were artists, designers, actors, and engineers. Using wooden mock-ups of tanks, inflatable models of military equipment, sound equipment that conveyed the noise of moving columns and gunfire, and radio broadcasts of fake commands and messages, they created the illusion of large-scale military action. One of the most famous operations in which the Ghost Army took part was the operation before the offensive in Normandy. While real Allied forces prepared to land on the beaches of Normandy, the Ghost Army concentrated elsewhere, creating the appearance of preparing a major offensive. This made it possible to significantly reduce the concentration of German troops at the actual landing points. Yamashita's gold. One of the most fascinating and mysterious stories associated with World War II is the legend of Yamashita's gold. This story begins with Japanese General Tomoyuki Yamashita, who, according to numerous accounts, was able to amass vast treasures captured during Japanese military campaigns throughout Southeast Asia. Legends claim that at the end of the war, foreseeing inevitable defeat, Yamashita and his subordinates hid these treasures in various places in the Philippines. Since then, Yamashita's gold has been the subject of numerous expeditions and searches, attracting treasure hunters, historians, and adventurers from all over the world. But no expedition has so far been able to find definitive evidence of the existence of these treasures. The legend of Yamashita's gold was surrounded by layers of myths and speculation. It is said that among the hidden wealth were not only gold and precious stones, but also artifacts of incredible historical and cultural value. According to one version, the Japanese command used a complex system of codes and maps to designate the locations of the treasures, many of which were lost or destroyed in the last days of the war. In attempts to unravel the mystery of Yamashita's gold, dozens of expeditions were undertaken, some of which ended in tragedies and even deaths. This highlights the dangers of treasure hunting and the difficulty of searching in the jungle and mountainous regions of the Philippines. The story of Yamashita's gold continues to inspire new generations of explorers. It reminds us that many secrets of the Second World War are still unrevealed. And who knows, maybe one day someone will be able to solve the mystery and discover the lost treasures. The Amber Room. The Amber Room, one of the greatest wonders of the world, is often described as the eighth wonder of the world. Originally created in the early 18th century for the Kingdom of Prussia, it was presented to Peter the Great in 1716 as a sign of the Russian-Prussian alliance. Subsequently, the room was transported to St. Petersburg and installed in the Catherine Palace in Tsarskoye Selo. Made from several tons of amber, it was a masterpiece of decorative art, decorated with gold leaf and mirrors, creating a warm, luminous interior. During World War II, when Nazi troops captured Tsarskoye Selo, the amber room was dismantled and transported to Königsberg, now Kaliningrad, Russia, where it was exhibited in a museum. After the war, traces of the room were lost, and its location remains one of the greatest mysteries of the 20th century. For decades, explorers, historians, and treasure hunters have tried to find the amber room. There are various theories about its fate. Some claim that it was destroyed during the bombing. Others believe that it is still hidden in the bowels of the earth or in closed vaults. In 2003, the reconstruction of the Amber Room was completed in Russia, recreated by craftsmen from drawings and photographs of the original, which became a symbol of the restoration of lost cultural value. There is more to the quest for the Amber Room than just the quest to find lost treasure. It is a journey through history, culture, and international relations, reflecting humanity's endless desire to reconnect with the past and pass it on to future generations. Lorenz cipher machine. The Lorenz cipher machine, used during World War II by the Nazi German High Command to transmit secret messages, is one of the most sophisticated cryptographic devices of its time. Unlike the more famous Enigma, intended for field communications, the Lorenz machine served to protect strategically important communications between senior leaders of the Wehrmacht and the government. The Lorenz encryption system was so complex that it took the Allies considerable time and effort to break it. The work of British cryptographers at Bletchley Park, including Bill Tutt, Max Newman, and Alan Turing, led to the creation of one of the world's first electronic computing devices, the Colossus, designed specifically to decipher Lorenz messages. The first opportunity to hack Lorenz appeared due to a mistake by a German operator who sent the same long message twice with minor changes and the same encryption key. This mistake gave cryptographers a unique chance to understand the logic of the machine and develop a technique for breaking it. A physical copy of the Lorenz machine was an extremely rare trophy. The story of how one of these machines was found in a river in Britain after the war adds intrigue to the history of British cryptography. The discovery allowed the researchers to directly experience a technique that they had previously only been able to study theoretically. Today, the Lorenz machine and the story of its hacking are evidence not only of the intellectual confrontation during the war, but also tell the story of the birth of the era of computer technology. Work on deciphering Lorenz contributed to the development of computer technology and formed the basis of modern information security. The Holy Grail of the Nazis. This artifact has become increasingly popular over time, especially in the context of research into the esoteric beliefs of the Nazi regime. It is true that a number of senior Nazi leaders, including Himmler, were interested in the occult and mystical traditions. However, it is necessary to understand that most of the information on this topic is based on myths and guesses. However, there is a version that the Nazis were actually looking for the Holy Grail in the hope of using its mythical properties for their own purposes. In combination with archaeological expeditions organized by the Ahnenerbe SS Research Institute, this version becomes even more interesting. Some historians claim that one of the goals of Nazi expeditions to Tibet and other regions was to search for relics, including the Grail. However, there is no clear evidence for this. There is also an opinion that the Grail could be located in southern France, in the Cathar region, and that the Nazis carried out excavations there. This myth has been further inflated by popular culture, especially movies and books. A number of works depict Nazis pursuing sacred relics, including the Grail, to gain supernatural power or justify their ideology. Scientific and historical research on the topic proves that while the Nazis were indeed interested in the occult and mysticism, most of these claims are based on myth. However, the idea that the Nazis may have been searching for the Holy Grail has become one of the most recognizable and disturbing themes in modern pop culture. Hitler's bunker. Hitler's bunker, known as the Führer bunker, was Adolf Hitler's final refuge during the height of World War II and the final days of his life. Located deep underground in the center of Berlin, this bunker was part of a vast underground network designed to protect the Nazi leadership from Soviet bombing. Construction of the Führer bunker began in 1936 and was completed in 1944 when it became clear that the war was moving toward an inevitable end. The bunker consisted of two separate parts, the old part built in 1936 and the new, deeper and fortified part added in 1944. The internal space included living quarters, conference rooms, places for work and recreation, as well as the necessary infrastructure for a long stay underground. In April 1945, as the Red Army tightened its ring around Berlin, Hitler moved to the Führer bunker, where he spent the last weeks of his life. Many high-ranking Nazi officials and their families were also evacuated here. Despite the fact that the bunker was equipped with modern life support systems at that time, the conditions inside were far from comfortable due to overcrowding, lack of air, and constant noise from artillery shelling. On April 30, 1945, realizing the inevitability of defeat and fearing being captured by Soviet troops, Hitler committed suicide by taking poison and simultaneously shooting himself in the head. His body, as well as the body of Eva Braun, who became his wife a day before his death, were burned in the garden of the Reich Chancellery, not far from the entrance to the bunker. After the war, the area where the bunker was located came under East German control. The remains of the bunker were partially destroyed and filled up. The site of Hitler's former hideout today houses ordinary residential development, as well as an information board telling about its history. The site remains a source of interest to researchers, tourists, and those seeking to understand the final days of one of the darkest periods in human history. Bad Arolsen Archives. The Bad Arolsen Archives, officially known as the International Tracing Service, ITS, is located in the German town of Bad Arolsen and is one of the most significant historical resources related to World War II and Holocaust research. These archives contain millions of documents related to victims of the Nazi regime, including prisoners of war, forced laborers, concentration camp prisoners, and people who suffered from National Socialist persecution. The creation of archives began immediately after the end of the war, when the Allied forces discovered the need to organize the huge amount of documentation captured during the liberation of Europe. The goal was not only to document Nazi crimes, but also to help reunite separated families and identify missing people. The archives contain a wide range of documents, including files on concentration camp prisoners, transport lists to the camps, documents on the movement of forced labor, and medical and court records. These documents not only serve as an important source for researchers and historians, but also provide an opportunity for the descendants of the victims to learn the fate of their ancestors. Today, the Bad Arolsen Archives continues to play a key role in efforts to preserve the memory of the Holocaust and Nazi crimes. Nazi gold in the Alpine lakes. Legends of Nazi gold hidden in the depths of the Alpine lakes at the end of World War II have haunted the minds of explorers, treasure hunters, and historians for many years. In its final days, the Third Reich was rumored to have sent valuable cargo, including gold, gems, and works of art, into these inaccessible areas in an attempt to hide them from advancing Allied forces. One of the most famous stories is the alleged Nazi storage of significant gold reserves in the lakes of Austria, in particular Lake Toplitz. According to legend, the Nazis used this and other mountain lakes as natural repositories for their treasures, drowning boxes of gold and valuables in the hope of preserving them for the future revival of the Reich. The post-war search for Nazi gold attracted many expeditions, some of which confirmed the presence of artifacts from the era in the waters of the lakes, including counterfeit British pounds produced by the Nazis as part of Operation Bernhard. However, most of the declared treasures were never found, which only fuels interest in this topic. There are many theories about why the Nazis might have chosen the Alpine lakes to hide their treasures. One of them is that the mountainous terrain and deep, cold waters of the lakes provided ideal conditions for preserving valuables for a long time. In addition, legends about treasures could serve as disinformation, the purpose of which was to distract the Allies from more important tasks. Train with Nazi gold. The legend of the Nazi gold train is one of the most intriguing stories surrounding the end of World War II. According to this legend, in the last days of the war, when Nazi Germany stood on the verge of defeat, a train loaded with gold, jewelry, and works of art was sent from Breslau, now Wrocław, Poland, towards the Oven Mountain Range, where, according to rumors, there were underground warehouses and bunkers. This train is said to have disappeared without a trace in the chaos of the final days of the war, leaving behind many questions and speculation. Some versions claim that the train was hidden in one of the many tunnels in the oven area, the entrances and exits of which were then blown up or walled up to hide the treasure from the approaching Allied forces. For decades, treasure hunters, explorers, and historians have tried to find the lost train using both historical evidence and modern technology. Despite numerous expeditions and searches, no convincing evidence of the existence of the train was found. However, from time to time, new reports about possible finds appear in the media, once again reigniting interest in this mystery. Dead Sea Scrolls. The discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947 by Bedouins in the caves of Qumran, located on the northwest coast of the Dead Sea, was one of the most significant archaeological events of the 20th century. These ancient texts, dating from the period between the 3rd century BC and the 1st century AD, shed light on many aspects of the religious life, history, and culture of the ancient Near East, as well as the development of the text of the Bible. The scrolls contain more than 800 documents, including copies of all the books of the Hebrew Bible, except the Book of Esther, apocryphal works that are not included in the canon of the Bible, and texts relating to the rules and beliefs of a Jewish sect, probably the SS, who lived at Qumran. The discovery was a sensation because these texts predate any previously known copies of the Bible by 1,000 years, providing a unique opportunity to study the development of the biblical text and the religious views of the time. Wreck of USS Indianapolis. The USS Indianapolis, a heavy cruiser of the United States Navy, has gone down in history as one of the most tragic naval disasters of World War II. In July 1945, after carrying out a secret mission to deliver components of an atomic bomb intended to be dropped on Hiroshima, Indianapolis was sunk by a Japanese submarine in the Philippine Sea. The event resulted in the deaths of more than 800 of the 1,196 crew members, many of whom died from dehydration, shark attacks, and injuries within 5 days before the survivors were located and rescued. For many years, the location of the wreck of the Indianapolis remained unknown, making it one of the most famous and wanted shipwrecks of World War II. That would change in August 2017 when a team of researchers led by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen discovered debris more than 5,500 meters deep in the Philippine Sea. The discovery of the wreck of the USS Indianapolis was a significant event, closing one of the most tragic chapters in the history of the U.S. Navy. The discovery of the wreck also highlighted the role of modern technology in maritime archaeology and the study of underwater shipwrecks. The use of deep-sea equipment and advanced technology has allowed researchers to reach places inaccessible decades ago, opening new chapters in history and providing unique opportunities to study the past. Secret bunker in the Ardennes. In the shady forests of the Ardennes, where the echoes of World War II still resonate in the hearts and minds of explorers, a major discovery has been made. A secret bunker, hidden among dense vegetation and forgotten by time, has revealed its secrets after decades of silence. The bunker was found to have been used by German forces as a command post during the Battle of the Bulge, one of Germany's last major offensives. The discovery of the bunker was an accident when a group of local historians were researching changes to the landscape caused by the war. Inside the bunker, maps, documents, and personal belongings of soldiers were found, providing invaluable material for study. The documents included strategic plans, command orders, and diaries, revealing details of the lives of the military and their views on the course of the war. Particularly striking was the discovery of encrypted messages believed to have been used to coordinate offensives and regroup troops. These documents gave historians new insight into the complexity of the Ardennes operations and the strategic thinking of the German command. Secret projects and experiments of Nazi Germany. During World War II, Nazi Germany launched many secret projects and experiments, many of which were aimed at creating advanced military weapons and technologies. These initiatives ranged from innovative to fantastic and even absurd. One of the most ambitious projects was the development of rocketry, including the creation of the V-2 rocket, the world's first long-range ballistic missile. These missiles were used to bomb London and other cities, heralding the era of space exploration and the Cold War missile race. In the field of aviation, the Nazis experimented with jet and rocket aircraft, including the Me-262, the world's first production jet fighter, and the Horten-Ho 229, a prototype stealth bomber. Work was also carried out on projects of flying saucers and other unusual aircraft, the goal of which was to achieve air superiority. The darkest chapter of the Third Reich's scientific research was the medical experiments on humans carried out in concentration camps. These cruel experiments, including survival tests in extreme conditions, studies of the effects of infectious diseases, and sterilization methods, were condemned by the international community as flagrant violations of human rights and ethics. In addition, secret research has expanded the boundaries of chemical and nuclear weapons. The atomic bomb projects, although not completed during the war, set the tone for subsequent U.S. and Soviet nuclear programs. Post-war excavations and studies of the sites where these experiments were carried out are revealing new data about the technological and scientific potential of Nazi Germany. Discoveries in rocketry and aviation are often stunning in their innovation, showing how far efforts can go in wartime. The sinking of the Bismarck. The sinking of the Bismarck, the flagship of the German fleet during World War II, is one of the most significant and dramatic events in naval history. This warship, named after German Chancellor Otto von Bismarck, was one of the most powerful in the world at that time, thanks to its armor, weapons, and speed. Its launch in 1939 immediately attracted the attention of the world community, becoming a symbol of the naval power of Nazi Germany. Bismarck set off on its first and last combat campaign in May 1941. Its mission was to disrupt Britain's maritime supply by attacking ships carrying cargo from North America. However, soon after the operation began, the British Navy discovered the Bismarck and decided to destroy it in order to prevent potential threats to its shipping lanes. On May 24, 1941, after exchanging fire with the British cruiser Hood, Bismarck managed to inflict critical damage on Hood, leading to its explosion and subsequent sinking. This success, however, became a Pyrrhic victory for the Bismarck, as during the battle the ship received damage that limited its maneuverability and speed. The British fleet used this advantage to pursue and encircle the German battleship. On May 27, 1941, after an intense pursuit and several unsuccessful attacks by British warships and aircraft, the Bismarck was finally sunk in the Atlantic Ocean. Most of its crew were killed. The discovery of the Bismarck's wreckage in 1989 at a depth of more than 4.7 thousand meters was a significant event, allowing researchers and historians to learn more about the ship's final hours and the circumstances of its sinking. These wrecks still attract the attention of specialists and remain a monument to both engineering skill and the tragedy of war. Maus tank. The Maus tank was a colossal project of Nazi Germany, symbolizing the desire to create a superweapon during the Second World War. Developed under the direction of engineer Ferdinand Porsche and personally approved by Adolf Hitler, the Maus was intended to be the heaviest tank of all time, weighing 188 tons. Its creation reflected the philosophy of Nazi military strategies, which focused on superiority through technological power. Development of the Maus began in 1942, and by the end of the war, only 2 prototypes had been built. The main task of the tank was to break through enemy defenses with the ability to withstand any type of artillery shells and obstacles. It was armed with a 128 mm gun, capable of destroying any target at a distance of up to 2 kilometers, and an additional 75 mm gun, and also had armor up to 220 mm thick. However, the gigantic size and mass of the Maus became its main drawback. The tank suffered from mobility problems, was difficult to transport, and could only travel on specially fortified roads. In addition, its enormous weight made it impossible to cross bridges, which seriously limited its operational use at the front. By the time Germany surrendered, work on the Maus had not been completed, and the tank never took part in combat operations. One of the prototypes was captured by Soviet troops and sent to the USSR for study. Today, this unique specimen can be seen in the Central Museum of the Armed Forces in Moscow. Silver Treasure, SS Gairsoppa. The silver treasure of the SS Gairsoppa has become one of the most significant underwater finds of our time, turning into a real sensation in the world of treasures and underwater exploration. The British merchant ship SS Gairsoppa was sunk by a German submarine in February 1941 during World War II while en route from India to Britain, carrying valuable cargo, including huge quantities of silver. At war and suffering from metal shortages, Britain at the time actively used sea routes to transport raw materials and valuables from its colonies. The Gairsoppa was carrying over 200 tons of silver bullion, intended to finance the war effort and support the country's economy. The sinking of the ship was a blow to Britain's resources. The wreckage of Gairsoppa was discovered in 2011 at a depth of more than 4.7 kilometers in the North Atlantic, which was made possible thanks to modern technologies for searching and studying underwater objects. The silver recovery operation proved extremely difficult due to depth, weather conditions, and technical limitations. However, it was successfully carried out and most of the silver was recovered. Treasures of Königsberg Castle. Königsberg, the historical capital of East Prussia, was once home to a magnificent castle built in 1255 by the Teutonic Order. The castle served as a residence for Prussian princes and kings, and later for German emperors. Priceless works of art, historical relics, and a rich library were kept within its walls. However, the real interest lies in the fate of the treasures which, according to legend, were hidden in the castle or its surroundings in the run-up to the Soviet offensive at the end of the Second World War. These treasures include gold, precious stones, and unimaginably valuable artifacts and works of art that may have been stolen by the Nazis from occupied territories and hidden in the castle as the safest place. In April 1945, Königsberg was taken by Soviet troops, and the castle was seriously damaged by bombing and was subsequently destroyed in the post-war years. All this time, the treasures were never found, which gave rise to many stories and speculation about their possible whereabouts. For decades, archaeologists, adventurers, and scientists have tried to uncover the mystery of Königsberg Castle's treasure, excavating the ruins and studying archival documents in hopes of finding clues. Some research has led to the discovery of underground passages and rooms, but none of them have confirmed the presence of lost treasures. Today, the location of the treasures of Königsberg Castle remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century, continuing to inspire researchers, writers, and adventurers to new searches and discoveries. Roswell Incident. The Roswell incident, which occurred in July 1947 in New Mexico, USA, remains one of the most discussed and mysterious pages in the history of UFOs and Nazi Germany. Events began with the discovery of unidentified debris on a ranch near Roswell, leading to much speculation about the crash of an alien ship. But as you remember, the Nazis also tried to invent weapons that had not existed before, including something similar to flying saucers. Therefore, historians and lovers of conspiracy theories intertwined these events with each other. The U.S. Air Force initially announced that a flying disc had been found, but the statement was soon withdrawn, and the official story changed to the crash of a balloon used for meteorological purposes. This change in position raised suspicions and gave rise to conspiracy theories that the U.S. government was hiding the truth about the alien encounter. In subsequent years, the Roswell incident became an iconic event in ufology, with an entire industry built around it, including books, documentaries, feature films, conferences, and even a theme park in Roswell. Ufologists and researchers suggest that the military not only discovered UFO debris, but also the bodies of aliens, which in their opinion was strictly classified. The U.S. government in turn has repeatedly denied the presence of any evidence of an alien visit and emphasized that all secret projects associated with Roswell concerned exclusively military research and intelligence activities within the framework of the Cold War. In 1994, the Pentagon and CIA released reports claiming that the debris belonged to the secret Project Mogul, designed to monitor Soviet nuclear testing at high altitudes. However, these explanations have not convinced many conspiracy theorists who continue to search for more evidence of alien intervention. In a previous video, I talked more about this incident and other archaeological discoveries related to UFOs, so I highly recommend watching it. See you in the next video on the channel.